What is cracking, everybody? You're back with Mr. Berger. Check out the Taco Cat shirt again. It's because I'm recording this night. It's a video on the same night as another video. That's why I was wearing the same shirt twice, in case you're wondering. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at this Royal Hogs Three Musketeer Spellbait deck. This deck is sick. It's really awesome. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I want to play it some more. I want to get some better replays, but I just really wanted to get this video recorded and share this deck with you guys because it's really strong. Right now it's really good. It's probably going to get nerfed. It will get nerfed because Valkyrie is going to get nerfed real soon. Royal Hogs will probably get nerfed. If they don't get nerfed this patch, then they'll get nerfed really soon as well, most likely. Alright guys, this is another RoyaleAPI deck that I found, and is definitely a 12-win Grand Challenge winner. Right? That sounds funny. A 12-win Grand Challenge winner? Okay, anyway, you get what I'm trying to say, right? So, the first thing that jumps out to me with this deck, it's a Three Musketeers deck, but without a pump, right? In almost every single Three Musketeers deck, you have an Elixir pump. And you don't have that in this deck, and it doesn't give you that advantage to, first of all, you know, capitalize and take advantage of your spellbait potential by getting a pump down for, you know, a massive elixir advantage over time. And it doesn't give you that kind of extra umph of spellbait, that extra fireball bait, so that you can safely get your Three Musketeers down, or, you know, safely get the pump down because they wasted their fireball on the Three Musketeers or something like that. So it does, however, have other things that really bait out that fireball, and that's a major theme in this deck. It's got a lot of spell bait. Looking at it, you might be wondering, okay, what else is there? Well, there's the Hunter, first of all. The Hunter is definitely a spell bait card. It only costs 4 elixir, so that makes it an equal trade for something like a fireball or a poison. It lives through a fireball, just like a musketeer or a wizard does. I don't think it lives through a poison, though. It's the same as, you know, again, a musketeer or a wizard. But it definitely plays that role of kind of fireball bait, allowing you, you know, safe passage of your Three Musketeers once they've wasted their fireball on that Hunter. Now, what else do you have in this deck? Well, surprisingly, I found this out through playing this deck. I didn't watch any videos or read any guides on this deck. This is just purely from playing this deck, that people use their spells on Royal Hogs a lot. Like, I was surprised. I'm like, my Hogs are getting like fireball log combo all the time. And that's because it completely shuts them down. It's a 5 elixir card, right? I mistakenly called them a 4 elixir card in the previous video. It's a 5 elixir card that completely gets shut down by the combination of log and fireball. You know, they get no chip damage off on your tower at all if you do it correctly. And that's a negative elixir trade for the fireball log user, but it does completely shut down that, you know, really pesky, annoying, deadly win condition. So once they've wasted, or not wasted, but used those spells on your Hunter, first of all, or secondly, maybe your Royal Hogs, that allows you to put those Three Musketeers down much more safely. And let's say that you're overflowing an elixir and you successfully get the Three Musketeers down anyway, and they fireball zap 2 of them. I guess that's kind of an equal trade because they're getting, you know, 2 of the 3 Musketeers. The 3 Musketeers cost 9 total, so technically the 2 Musketeers in a sense cost 6 total, and the fireball zap combo costs 6 elixir. So that's an equal trade. Negative if they get, you know, chip damage off on the tower, because then it gives them some extra value. But if they do that, then you can safely put down the Royal Hogs if their major counter to your Royal Hogs is that fireball log combo, or fireball zap, or maybe just fireball something else, right? The idea is you bait out the fireball with one of those 3 cards, one of those 3 major spell bait cards, and that allows you the safe passage of one of your 2 major win conditions, the Three Musketeers or the Royal Hogs. Now, as I mentioned, ideally it's with the Hunter, but you can't, because it's the cheapest card. But you can do it with the Royal Hogs, or maybe even the Three Musketeers. Alright? Let's see what else I want to talk about in here. Well, first of all, or not first of all, but next we have 2 major mini-tanks in this deck. Valk is an interesting card right now. I read an interesting thing on Reddit, you know, somebody was complaining about how Valk is supposed to be a swarm killer and it's just too beefy. I know Valk's going to get nerfed real soon. Maybe by the time I get this video out, she'll be nerfed already, who knows. But either way, she does definitely play that swarm killer role. She's also kind of plays that mini tank role. and I don't know if that's what she was intended for, but she's played that mini tank role for some time. She's kind of been a replacement for something like a knight or an ice golem, right? And in the current meta, ever since she got that her most recent super strong buff, you know, she's one of those cards like the Dark Prince kept getting buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed. And now they're finally going to nerf her like they did with the Dark Prince, right? Anyway, ever since that, she's just been everywhere. Any card that had like Knight or Ice Golem in it is basically running Valkyrie, with the exception of like, you know, 2.6 Hog Cycle, because you've got to have that Ice Golem in there to keep that perfect elixir cost, right? But almost, you know, like Expo decks and a lot of Hog decks and just, you know, Mortar decks, all kinds of stuff. Everybody's running Valkyrie everywhere because she's such a powerhouse right now. She's so strong right now. She's gonna get nerfed, guys. Guarantee it. But use her while you can, alright? She's really strong right now. You've also got that Ice Golem, and the reason that you have too many tanks in here is, you know, you can use one for utility. You can use the Valkyrie, you know, to kill things as a swarm killer or even extra DPS or whatever, and then use the the Ice Golem as your other mini tank to put in front of your 2 Musketeers in one lane or your 1 Musketeer in the other lane. You've also got the Royal Hogs that play that kind of mini tank role in front of the Musketeers. And it's really cool because you've got that split push potential with the 3 Musketeers, and then you can put the Royal Hogs in the center like I just did there, and 2 of them will go right, 2 of them will go left, and then that gives you the option to use them as kind of a mini tank in both lanes, sitting in front of your Musketeers. So you split the Musketeers like so, put the Royal Hogs in front of them, they split as well. And on top of that, since you have those 2 reliable mini tanks, you got the Valkyrie and you got the Ice Golem, you can also Ice Golem one lane is the mini tank in front of the 1 Musketeer, or the 2 Musketeers, and then Valkyrie the other lane is the mini tank in front of, you know, the opposite, you know, the 1 or the 2 Musketeers in the other lane. So that's kind of the major strategy behind this deck, and the reason that you got 2 mini tanks in there. And I talked about the Valkyrie already, so I don't need to repeat more about her, but guys, definitely keep running her while she's hot right now, because she's definitely going to get nerfed really soon. Guarantee it. Now this next replay, I think this is a 2.6 Hog Cycle. Yeah, it looks like it is. And this guy actually gave up after a little while, so once we get to that point, I'll try to remember to skip through it. I just wanted to show you kind of the potential that this deck has to counter that 2.6 Hog Cycle. Alright, let's keep talking about the strategies and stuff behind this deck. Now the Skeletons, Log, and the Ice Golem. These, although it is 3 Musketeers deck, so it's naturally really expensive, you got a 3.9, almost a 4 average elixir cost. These 3 cards all cost 1 or 2 elixir. So that makes this deck, in a way, relatively fast, if that makes sense, because you can always be cycling one of those 3 cards. So you got the Ice Spirit, you got the Log, and you got the Skeletons. So that gives you the potential to cycle back to your 3 Musketeers, or your Royal Hogs, or your Valkyrie, or your Spells, or your Hunter, whatever you need, pretty quickly, if you need to do so. So keep that in mind. It almost makes it like a 3 Musketeers Royal Hog cycle deck, but it's a little bit heavier because the 3 Musketeers, it's hard to call a 3 Musketeers deck a cycle deck. I mean, it could be a 3 Musketeers cycle, but you got that, and then you've also got the 5 elixir cost Royal Hogs, and then the Valkyrie, which is a little bit more expensive, so on and so forth. But it's still pretty quick when it comes to cycling because you got those Skeletons in there. And what about those Skeletons? Why do we have them in there? You could definitely replace them with bats, and if I talk about card replacements, that would be my go-to replacement. But they're really cheap. And, you know, you could probably put an Ice Spirit in there too. I really like the Ice Spirit because it has a ton of utility. But the Skeletons kind of have that utility as well, because they can do things like counter a Prince or a P.E.K.K.A. or, you know, a single target, or distract a single target hitting enemy troop really easily. Alright, and I think at this point this person had pretty much just given up, so we're just going to go ahead and triple time or quadruple time for the rest of the replay here and get through it. And you can see that you split the Musketeers and just go down with whatever support, and you can split the Royal Hogs and finish it off really quickly there once they do that. Alright guys, so you got those Skeletons in there, you got the Ice Golem makes it cheap, you got the Fireball Log combo. You could definitely go with like a Poison Log to take out witches and stuff, but this works out pretty well with this deck. You got the Valkyrie as the cleave in the mini tank, you got the Royal Hogs, you can split them or send them down a single lane. And look at the value that I get here from these Royal Hogs using them aggressively. And I also chip away at his Elixir Pump there. You get a ton of damage here, and he's unable to answer it because he invested so much in that Elixir Pump. So you can be a little bit aggressive with those Hogs. They are a little bit harder to answer than the regular Hog, because everybody knows how to answer a Hog Rider. All decks have some sort of built-in answer generally, right? But the Royal Hogs, since they're new and fresh and really strong right now, they are sometimes, you know, people don't quite know how to answer them, so they get that, you know, really successful push going. Alright guys, what else do we have in here? The Three Musketeers, you know how to play those, because there's so many videos on that already. Hunter plays the role, that's spell bait, and that's pretty much everything. So never forget guys, you can also put the Three Musketeers in the pocket there. The pocket, alright? Put it in the pocket. So what you do there is you place it in that kind of sweet little corner spot in between the enemy's King Tower and Princess Tower that remain once you've gotten one down. So you know, like, right in the center of their side of the arena. And if you put the Musketeers there, right there in the pocket, then generally your Three Musketeers will get a ton of chip damage off, or I wouldn't even call it chip damage, just a ton of damage off on the remaining Princess Tower before your opponent has time to react, because they're basically within range of their auto attack as soon as they're plopped down, and all three of them lock on really quickly, unless they've already preemptively put something down because they know that you're going to put it there, or they just got lucky and accidentally put something down, then you're going to get a ton of damage off onto the tower there. Alright, for opening moves and card replacements, to finish it off here, and then I'll go into one loss, I think. For opening moves, generally you would cycle your Hunter. That is to get them to waste their Fireball or Poison or whatever on that Hunter. Again, so that you have free range to play those Three Musketeers or the Royal Hogs or whatever else. Definitely don't open with the Three Musketeers. You never want to do that because it's too easy to counter, and they're kind of one of those cards that you can play to catch them off guard if you need to. And, you know, kind of get a huge push going, or a successful push going, if they don't know that you have it, until you kind of get them into a sticky situation, right? Otherwise, you could open with, like, you know, cycle your cycle cards in the back, no problem, easy to cycle the Skeletons, or the Ice Golem in the back, even the Valkyrie if you need to. But generally I would go with the Hunter because you want them to kind of waste their Fireball or Poison or something, so that you have free range for those Three Musketeers. For card replacements, let's talk about those really quickly, and then we'll wrap it up. So for Skeletons, again, you could go for another cycle card like Bats. That would be my go-to replacement. You could also just do something like Goblins or Spear Goblins if you want something else cheap, but you kind of want something cheap there to play that role of kind of a cycle card. Same thing for the Ice Golem. You want something cheap, I would go with another cheap mini tank, maybe kind of like the Knight or something like that, even the Bandit or Royal Ghost. Now for the Fireball and Log, of course, you can always go like Poison and Zap. You can also go Poison Log, would be a good combo to take out Witches, as I said. For the Valkyrie, I wouldn't really replace her in the current meta because she's so strong right now. Go-to replacement for the Valkyrie would be another splash damage troop that costs a similar amount of elixirs, so I would say like the Dark Prince would be a go-to. Another go-to would be the Royal Ghost. It would be a go-to for the Valkyrie for sure. And let me say go-to about 500 more times here. Now, next thing, the Royal Hogs. You could probably put like a Hog Rider or a Battle Ram or another win condition. Maybe even like a Mortar. But again, the Royal Hogs give you that, you know, extra spell bait potential. So something else that is susceptible to Fireball. Another win condition. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'm sure you guys can come up with something. Alright, for the Three Musketeers, that would really change the deck, so I would not replace the Three Musketeers. But I'm sure you could try this with another, like, kind of Fireball bait card. You could put, like, a Pump in there, or another regular Musketeer, or something like that, or like an Ewiz even. So same thing for the Hunter, just another thing that's really susceptible to Fireball that costs a similar amount of elixir. So again, the go-to would be a Musketeer. If you want to get fancy and you like playing with Ewiz, that's another great card in just about any deck. And I already talked about replacement for the Log would be Zap or Arrows or something like that. And that's pretty much it for card replacements. So guys, this is a match that I actually just did here right before I recorded this video. And, you know, sometimes I get into later matches in the challenge and I don't do so hot, or like, you know, I'm doing really well, I'm on a good streak early on, and then I come back to it later and I kind of, you know, lost my streak, lost my momentum, and don't do so well. So I did pretty well this match, but there's definitely some mistakes that I made here. So let's talk about what I did wrong and see how I could have done things better and see what caused me to lose. So at this point I'm playing pretty well. It's pretty even at this point. He does a good job there of kiting over my Valkyrie over across the arena away from the Hunter. The Hunter does get one swing off, or one shot off onto the Princess Tower, so that's really good for me. Here comes the Giant. Huge mistake right there. That probably cost me the game. Maybe it didn't cost me the game, but it definitely put me into a bad mindset because I knew I messed up there. Look at me split those Hogs, but he successfully pulls them all together with a Tombstone. So what I did wrong there is his Giant was alive. I put all Three Musketeers down right next to each other where he could just fireball them all, and they were all shooting his Giant, so they didn't split in time, and that just gave him huge value because it takes out the 9-cost Three Musketeers, or almost takes them out with just the 4-cost Fireball. He could Zap or Log them too to completely finish them off. Alright, here the Valkyrie crosses over and does a good job. Look at her taking out the Rascal Boy and going off across to take out the, what was it, Spear Goblin that was left over there too. Royal Hogs running in, but they don't get any damage off because he successfully shuts it down. He goes aggressive here on both the lanes, so I kind of put something down on the right to try to counter. I log left, I put the Hunter down, and his Mini P.E.K.K.A. does get one swing off on the tower, and here his Giant connects, and this is pretty much where I lost the game, because I invested heavily in the left, and I didn't spend enough Elixir defending in the right. I could have put another Hunter down right there, and I just didn't react fast enough. I had my eyes on the Three Musketeers, and you know what, I think I just wasn't in a good mindset, guys, and that's what happens. Sometimes you get going there, and you're just not playing as well as you were earlier in the challenge, or you know, maybe I needed to warm up or get more used to the deck or have another run with it. But you can see I definitely made a big mistake there. I should have countered that Dark Goblin, and I had Elixir to do so. But hey, hindsight is 20/20, so it's always fun to look at our losses sometimes and see how we messed up and how we could have done better. So that is it for this Royal Hogs, Three Musketeers, Hunter Spellbait deck. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and have a good night.